we operate based on the fear that we are told. Okay, we can't make that opinion for ourselves anymore. We let the government and media tell us who's to blame for our ills. That's what it is. Where they said, who's to blame? It was his big speech.
Oh, he's talking
reaction.
about the shepherd, like who's to blame and who to blame it.
Yeah. They only want to tell you. They talk about your troubles in life, who's to blame, and why your life is crap, and this, that, and the other. It was like at the very thing. He was like giving the thing to the media. But anyway, that just tell you, we are reactionary. I'm looking at the chat room, and somebody that probably should call in, that obviously isn't, has a lot of good comments to say, and I think she should call in, because that's the thing that we do on radio shows. Number is 480-405-1465. But we also, as she makes a point into the chat room, is the next problem is education. Okay, we don't teach kids anymore, people, how government works. Okay, people don't know what the Electoral College is, or how it was designed, and how it was brought about, and when it happened, etc. Okay, people don't understand the difference between the popular vote and the Electoral College. They don't know how that works. People don't understand the checks and balances of our country, where you have 3 branches of government, and they're supposed to check and balance each other to make sure people aren't taking too much power. They don't understand basic civics. Okay, how does your state government work? When I was in school, I had to go through Texas history. I had to go through government history. I had to go through all these different things to learn about all these different operations. We don't do that anymore. Now we teach kids in Arizona how to take tests. And that's just pitiful.
It is really pitiful. I mean, because they don't really learn anything. They're just learning how to memorize shit. I mean, so basically they're like a bunch of actors that have nothing upstairs. I mean,
yeah, we don't
boast about?
We don't teach real life skills anymore. You know, we teach kids how to pass a test and how to get out of school. We don't teach them how to do their taxes. We don't teach them how to balance a checkbook. When I was in school, we had to go through at least 2 semesters of a vocational training of some sort. I ended up taking auto body. So I can paint your car and I can slap Bondo on a dent, which is a skill, especially with how people drive here in Arizona, that would be very profitable until you can get an education. But the other side of that is it's almost impossible to get a good education, because by the time you get through your education, you are so far in debt and unable to find a job to pay off that debt that you become bankrupt.
And even if you do find a job, there's no guarantee, and you can't actually expect it's going to be in the field of your study, because life just doesn't fucking work like that.
True. It doesn't.
I mean, it's sad, and we know friends that have actually just recently graduated, put a lot of hard time and work, and got a lot of good grades, and I mean, just stellar shit. And then it's like, okay, well, now I can't even find a job. Never mind in my field, but I just can't even find a job that doesn't involve flipping burgers.
Oh no, you can get one where you wrap burritos.
Dude, you've seen me wrap burritos, man. Look out.
So you want to work at
Bell.
Taco Bell? Is that what you're telling me? No, I don't think so.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is we really don't spend time teaching our children how to become productive members of society. We teach them how to pass tests so that the schools can get more money, and the charter schools and private schools can get more money for less students, etc. Quote from the chat room.
We're actually supposed to learn stuff in school?
Supposedly. From the chat room, too many teachers are not really educators. They do not know how to use an emergent learning opportunity and incorporate curriculum.
Okay, this person needs to call in right now.
I'm trying to get her to call in. She's
call in, please. I don't know who you are, honey, but call in, please.
I know who she is. She's friends on Facebook.
Can I message her?
I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, that is exactly right. I mean, we especially in the... if you look at the school systems here in Arizona, you have your public schools, you have your charter schools, and you have your private schools. Some charter schools are considered public schools. The problem is that some of these schools, especially the charters, don't have to follow the same requirements for hiring teachers. Okay? So a public school requires that you have specific degrees, specific training, specific this, that, and the other. Whereas a charter school or a private school, oh, hey, it's somebody's brother. Yeah, give them a job. They can teach history. They don't know how to teach. They may have some knowledge of history, but they don't know how to teach history. And that's really bad for our kids. We need to change that in Arizona. And honestly, until we actually get people at the legislature in Arizona that actually give a shit about educating children as opposed to caring more about lining their pockets with STO and ESA money, we're never going to be able to change that. And the only way to change that is to get people to start thinking.
You get teachers at charter schools that get hired just because they know somebody.
That's the common rumor is that, and I've actually talked to teachers that work for charter schools that don't have degrees like are required to be in a public school. So yeah.
God damn, can I come teach?
I could teach under those standards. Hell, I could teach. I mean, it really is
job
just.
I've held in...
It's really sad. It's kind of a weird little. It's kind of a weird tangent, but what it reminds me of is the difference between the qualifications that a public educator needs versus somebody who works in a charter school is like the difference between what somebody in from a safety standpoint has in the U.S. versus other countries that don't have all the same standards. And then they wonder why they have accidents, why they have quality issues. It's like, well, it's because you guys are doing it wrong.
Well, it's not just that they're doing it wrong. It's that they send it to countries where they don't have to do it right.
Well, I mean, and it's a weird analogy, but it's like, oh, well, we can send it over there because it's cheaper because they don't have all the same restrictions and qualifications and whatnot. And it's kind of the same, I don't know, for me, that's kind of the way I equate the difference between a public educator and a charter school educator. Like, oh, well, I know how to do math, so I guess that means I can teach it. No, that's not what that fucking means.
Yeah, I'll teach math. That'll go.
I'll teach some fucking new math that'll blow your mind.
I have no idea how to teach math. I would never try to teach math. But I'm really good at history and science, and I did graduate, and I was on speech and drama, and I've got a musical background, so I could actually teach. Well, do they still have music and band and all that other stuff anymore?
They barely have basic curriculum in this state. I don't think they have a whole bunch of superlatives, but you never know. Wow, I said superlatives. That means I haven't actually.
Well, now you can't say it. That means you haven't had enough alcohol.
That's because I thought about it.
So, yeah, education. Superlative. Not superlative.
No, I say it the way I
wow,
want.
here we go.
Shush.
So, yeah. Education in Arizona is really, really hurting. And people at the legislature that actually want to do something about education are the minority and don't have a chance because the majority is just ripping it apart. It's really sad that we have to continue this conversation every single election cycle and every year or two at the state level when we have the same people that are doing this, running the same bills and trying to do the same things, and they're not doing anything to benefit the state. They're following their own political ideology and the ideology of their masters, which are the ones that give them money when they run for office.
Well, and the thing I don't get is, of all the people that have kids in the state, they're not all Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Green Party, Independents. So you'd figure they'd be like, you know what? My kid's kind of fucking dumb.
Well,
I'd like to see this change.
The people that are in office can afford to send their kids to private school.
Yeah, but the people that are actually voting for these people, it's like you'd figure you'd be like, oh my God,
and
my
that's where
kid
we come
is
back
not learning.
That's where we come back to the idea of governance by fear. Elections by fear, where you have people being elected because they say the right words, the right buzzwords. For example, the clean elections debate. Okay, my opponent, Senator David Farnsworth. I like the guy as a person. I mean, him and I get along really well. But we had this Save Our Schools debate panel where he talked about the evils of socialism and how public schools were socialists and indoctrinating our kids and all this other shit.
And how we shouldn't fund them.
Right, and how the state should not fund education. It should be done by the communities and by the churches. And then the next forum we had was the clean elections debate where he complained about not being able to get his Social Security check. You know, that socialist program that we all pay into all of our lives that he hates because it's socialist, but now he's mad because he can't get his check. And people fall into that. People buy it, okay, because people don't. They listen to their legislator who says socialism is bad without looking up what socialism actually is. Or what socialist programs are
they want
actually
their socialist check. Wonderful.
Right, yeah. So it's there's so much misinformation and so much lack of information that it's really hard for people, unless they actually are motivated, to be able to find out what the real information is. And that's where we fault. And it starts early age. So what we really need to do, and who was it that talked about this? Was it at the dinner? Well, they talked about getting No, it was at our district meeting. And for those of you that don't know, I'm the new chair of the LD16 Democrats.
Whoop, whoop.
We normally have 5 or 6 people at our district meetings, and this past Tuesday we had 22. People are starting to wake up and come out of the woodwork and want to do something, which is great. But one of the conversations we had was that whatever happened to the kids vote program, where kids would actually, where they would actually run their own elections based on the candidates. And it was a really good idea. It is a really good idea because if you start teaching people, kids, to be involved in the elections at an early age, then when they reach the age of being able to vote, they will actually participate, which is something that a lot of people aren't doing anymore.
I mean, somebody actually did bring up that in some cases it's kind of like religion, like, well, my parents believe this, therefore
well, you're still going to
I'm
see
leaning
some of
this
that.
way. But at least if you have the education of, like, taking the mystery out of, well, what's this voting thing? At least you kind of know what it is and you have a little bit of grasp of, well, this is...
Well,
this
you
is,
would hope.
Oh.
So it's yeah. Go ahead, chucklehead. I hear you. It's just, it's really hard because our kids don't have a whole lot of options anymore. I mean, they can get out of school if they can make it through and graduate from high school. Then they move on to either going to higher education, which puts them in complete debt before they finish, to the point where they can't afford to pay it back. Or they go straight into the workforce. Problem is that straight into the workforce out of high school, the chances of getting a decent job that would actually allow you to move away from mom and dad's house is slim to none.
Then again, I mean, your first job, you have no skills, so of course you can't expect a decent job right out of high school.
Well, if you have a vocational training and certification,
well, there you go,
then you could get, because we had...
That's true.
When I was in school, we had auto mechanics, we had auto body, we had
VOAG?
building trades, which had carpentry and electrical aspects of it for, like, residential housing and stuff like that. So you could actually be an electrician for people that build houses and stuff like that. Because we had all the certs and everything that we would get before you even graduated high school. We also had agriculture, so we had rancher-type stuff where people would farm and people would raise cattle and pigs and this, that, and the other.
Hell, even home ec. I mean, you could probably
home
go
ec
somewhere
would be,
with that.
at least you could bake a cake, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? Ooh, cake.
Ooh,
Do we have
cake.
any cake in the fridge?
Shit, I can't even do that yet.
I can make some brownies real quick.
Real quick. I'll just go out in the fridge in the
I
kitchen
didn't say
and
I was
whip 'em
going to
up.
bake them. I'm just going to mix up the batter.
What is it? Brownie, what is it? Bog eggs, brownie mix, and clown porn.
Oh, my God. No more Deadpool for
That's
us.
from Deadpool for those of you that watch that stuff. But yeah, it's we don't give children the proper tools to actually be able to leave school and then actually become productive members of society. And that's really bad in Arizona because we just don't. I mean, Arizona, the people making the laws up there don't care because their kids are entitled to be able to go to private schools. Or they're making money off the private schools. So, of course, they want to keep supporting them and getting more money thrown into it. So we have to actually work on that nationwide, I think. And at this point in time, I just don't know how it's going to happen because I think everybody there's too many things going on. There's too many issues that are in progress right now that are detrimental to our country. Okay, the environment is just getting hammered, and it's going to get worse.
Oh, but we'll all be